I started in the martial arts when I was 9 years old. My dad started me off doing boxing. So I started off boxing when I was 9. He got me into judo also. There was a like a traditional Japanese judo gym in St. Paul that he got me into when I was 9. And then I started wrestling when I was 10 years old.
There you go. That a boy, Jim. That a boy. That a boy. That a boy. That a boy. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We had a boxing ring on our property when I was growing up. My dad's a former pro boxer. He had 100 boxing matches. Well, his dad's from Ireland, so he was a bare knuckle boxer there, and then he came over. He had to escape Ireland. He got my dad's side of the family, they caught up in the troubles there. Like 1916, there was a revolution there that they got caught up into, and they had to escape to the United States. So my grandfather came to Chicago, lived in an Irish neighborhood, and he continued boxing there, like bare knuckle boxing there. So then my dad began boxing when he was a kid in a boxing gym in Chicago, and then he moved from Chicago to Mankato. My dad then also wrestled at Mankato State, so he was a D1 wrestler as well. And then they moved to Rogers, Minnesota, which my dad bought a farmhouse that he turned the barn into a boxing and wrestling gymnasium. And then so I grew up. I grew up wrestling and boxing. Yeah, so as I said, my grandfather, John Henry Clark, and you can look him up. He's got a picture up online, like one of those old-time Irish boxing stances. So anyway, my dad would tell me that most of the Irish people in that neighborhood either went into the police department or they joined the mafia, or both, double dipping. But my grandfather went a different route, and so did my dad. But my grandfather worked for the railroad, so he was an engineer. But he got his hand caught in the switching cars. Back then they were like manually, like back in the 1920s. I mean, they manually connected the boxcars. So he got his fingers cut, 4 fingers cut off in the switching car. So his 4 fingers were snapped off. And then my dad asked him, does it hurt, or how does it feel? And then my grandfather, he goes, I can still make a fist with it. So
You told me about the family crest that you have on your chest. Could you go into detail about that?
Yeah. Sure, it's on this side, yeah. So this is actually on when my grandfather came here, he married an Irish woman that only lived 9 miles apart from them, but they had never met each other in Ireland, but they met ech other in Chicago, and they were only 9 miles apart from each other in Ireland, but they met each other there in Chicago. But she was an O'Neill. My grandfather was Clark, but she was from, and then like in Ireland they have these clans, right? They're the family clan. But anyway, the O'Neill clan, which is the one that my son and I both wear on or have a tattoo on our chest. There's a story that my dad told me before a state wrestling tournament, just to get me like motivated to do my very best in this tournament. But he was telling me a story of this the so the chieftain of these clans, or whoever is the king, in this O'Neill clan, they would have athletic contests. So who was ever the most athletic would win. And so my dad said that this lineage from this Owner O'Neill to us is that's our bloodline, I guess. But he said that there was an athletic contest where these Innish Law islands on the outside of Ireland. There were a few miles outside of Ireland. There were these three. They had a boat race from those islands back to the mainland of Ireland, and the rules were whoever touches their hand on the beach first wins. And so they were rowing anyway. This Owen O'Neill was losing. The guy was ahead of him on the boat, and he was about to dock his boat and touch his hand. So the legend goes that he took a sword and he cut his hand off when the guy was about to dock his boat, because he wanted to be the king or the chieftain so badly that he cut his hand off. He picked it up and he threw it, and it landed on the beach first. So by the rules, technically he won. So anyway, that's the symbol, is the red hand, because it was bleeding. That's the symbol of that clan. So we wear it like whenever we're in a contest, we try to do our very best to win it.
Singing, that's the paddy stir whenever he's on the plane. To see the lassie smile, laughing all the world at me curious girls will set your heart a bubbling, and ask the fire was hard when she's out. Baby, run double and whack for lolly round.